the link to make sure that it's good. I can't click off of that. That's really annoying. Let's see. Okay. So we're good to go whenever. I'm going to mute myself, and then you can just pretty much start. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MLH Office Hours on Venues. One of very few things that can make or break a hackathon, which is pretty much a venue. Yeah, but before I start, I would like to give a shout out about HackCon 4 tickets. They're on sale right now, and HackCon 4 will be hosted in Estes Park, Colorado this year in the US. Speaking from my experience, really, definitely you should go. Last year I went to HackCon EU, and it was great fun, where I met a lot of awesome, amazing, influential people from our community, and learned quite the deal from there. So definitely I would recommend you to come and share your experience at hackathons and help shape the next Student Hack, I guess. Okay, with that out of the way, we'll start talking about today's workshop. We'll cover quite a bit of stuff. So we'll start by talking about different type of venues you can approach, how can you approach them, and what you can do to ensure that you host the most amazing weekend. A bit about myself. I'm Sami, a former director of Create Uni Hack and Student Hack here in Manchester, UK. I've organized 4 hackathons and volunteered at 5 and went to over 20 in the span of the last year only. So I'm pretty much addicted to this scene, and I would love to share a bit of my experience with you all. The reason I'm doing this workshop is just around this time last year, we've organized the very first Create Uni Hack, and we didn't have a venue until the day before the event, and I had no idea at all what I was supposed to do. We have approached over 80 venues in Manchester until we managed to find somewhere we can actually host the weekend. And it was quite the horrible nightmare for us the last month. So yeah, hopefully by the end of this workshop, you won't be in the same situation, I hope. I would like to give also a shout out to MLH Guide. It's on guide.mlh.io. It has a lot of useful information, and I think they quite extended it from last year. We just took a quick look on it, and I've seen they've covered almost everything, which is amazing. So yeah, definitely give it a look. There's one thing I would like to draw attention to is the timeline. On MLH.io, on the MLH guide, they talked a bit about the timeline, and they said ideally you would have a venue 4 to 9 months in advance, and your venue should be free. However, I think that's too abstract. I'm going to run more details about what you expect, and break it down to different months. Hopefully give you more realistic idea of what to do. 4 to 9 months in advance, you hopefully have a team by now. It's almost a semester away from your hackathon, or 2 semesters, depending on your school. And yeah, ideally you would have between 20, 30 venues where you actually really like and would like to host a hackathon. Just have a list of them. Don't idle too much on one venue. Approach as many as you can, I guess. Don't make it as a bottleneck. Like, don't wait until you lock a venue before you do all the stuff. Definitely work on your sponsorship, budgeting, and everything at this time as well. Don't let the venue stay in your way. Even if you're a first-time organizer, you can always like say we have plans for venues, I guess. Okay, 2 to 4 months in advance. Ideally, you have you have shortlisted 4 venues and working on finalizing paperwork. While I'll go through the paperwork later in this workshop, just for now, say, well, you have pretty much guaranteed venues, I guess. A month in advance, everything in order, and you have a venue and a backup venue. I will speak about backup venues later, but yeah, it's really important to have a backup venue, I guess. And yeah, you can chill out now and party a bit. But it never goes the way we want, does it? And sometimes we just panic and nothing goes the right way. We've contacted many venues and no one came back to you, and you didn't find anything suitable for a hackathon. That's not, I guess, don't panic too much and speak with your MLH rep about it. Almost every hackathon I know of, at least in the UK, had some situation with their venue where it didn't go as planned. Definitely keep up in channel with MLH and don't panic. That's really important. Hopefully by end of the workshop as well, you will know your options and you will probably recover before you hit a wall. But yeah, definitely the main point here I want to get across: don't panic and keep open channels with knowledge. Okay, with the timeline in our mind now, let's talk about different options we have. They are quite the variety of venues you can actually approach. Surprisingly, you don't think of when you first think of a hackathon venue. But let's before we start hunting the venues, let's identify really what we want from a venue. When I say I want a venue, I kind of like I want at least a free, massive in size that's able to host hundreds of hackers, flexible as in I can easily change it the way I want and imagine my hackathon to be. I I want to have a free, fast Wi-Fi, a really fast Wi-Fi where the hackers won't have to look at the loading bar at all. Ideally, the venue will be really warm. This is really an issue with bigger venues where you don't find a warm venue. But like, let's talk about that later. Hopefully, it will be well lit, and there is awesome set of AV equipments, audio and visuals. So that's like my ideal venue for hacking. However, rarely the case you will find two or three of these in a venue. If they come all together, that's like a jackpot. But don't worry too much if you can't find all of them. You're a hacker, just be creative about it. You can almost always hide a fault or two, I guess. Okay, now we identify what we really want. Let's talk about the options we have. The venues generally can be categorized under four main categories. You have the university campuses, the co-working spaces, or what you call office spaces, hotels, or dry hires. I'll speak about each of them in detail just now. So you have the university campuses. Those are pretty much the standard stuff and what you'd expect from a student-run hackathon. They're quite nice for quite a few reasons, actually. So the main thing is the infrastructure. They're being run and tested by hundreds and thousands of students every day. So you pretty much can't feel safe putting laptops in that and hackers. But still test everything, I guess, in advance. Another nice thing about it is the AV setup. Almost all universities have lecture theaters where you can do your opening presentations, workshops, and closing ceremonies. So that's sorted, which is pretty sweet. Cheap and almost free sometimes, depending on how your relationship with the university and how much the university perceive the hackathons, I guess. But like, even when they want to charge you, they won't charge you as commercial venues would. It's pretty much you would pay for staffing at the most. The bad thing is though is long process. This is pretty standard though, so it's just something to keep in your mind when you approach them, that you need to approach them really early, like a semester or two in advance. The reason for long process is because there are lots of channels to go through, and that's one of the things you don't want to end up doing, where you have to jump over channels. Do find an ally within the university to help you avoid these channels, like a reader or professor or administrator at the university who will be able to just be your ally, rally everyone rally everyone in the university and just like help you do the whole thing. Also, it requires a lot of admin effort. This is kind of different in a sense that sometimes it was easier for them to say no than filling a paperwork. I've seen this happen quite a few times, especially because we do a lot of smaller events where they just say no because they didn't want to fill a risk assessment, for example. So do be proactive about it and always fill all the paperwork and don't give them an excuse to say no. But sometimes they will say no and you can't really do much about it. The other thing is Wi-Fi. Surprisingly, even though they host hundreds and thousands of students every day, those students usually are not Netflixing or watching tutorials all the time or downloading huge IDEs, for example. Usually they're just like using it for lectures and stuff, so they don't expect a lot of load. Double the number of your attendees and say that's the expected number to your IT department, just so they can prepare for the loads that you're going to have in a hackathon. For good measurements, the last student hack we've run had 2 terabytes downloaded over 36 hours, and we had only 300 attendees. Now, the one before it, we had 1 terabyte. So those numbers are really scary for IT people, especially because like what they usually see is around the half that amount, I guess, for triple the number. So yeah, definitely watch out for the Wi-Fi. Don't trust it. So yeah, watch out for also one of the main things is security. So you might get free venue, but that doesn't mean you get everything free. Sometimes there is operation cost and like security, cleaning, and other stuff. Do ask for and do make sure that you don't have to pay for anything of that. If you have to pay, see if the university will cover it. Since it is internal staffing, they are usually happily covering it because, well, everything goes under their head magical budget, which can get allocated from a school to another. If they still say no, obviously the security won't cost as much as hiring a venue from outside. So if you can help it, definitely prefer the university campus over other venues. Another thing, Wi-Fi, we spoke about at length just before now. And the other thing is catering. The university will try to push for insider catering. And if they do, try to push away from it as much as you can. Not only it is expensive, and usually it is very expensive for what you get, is the quality usually you find much better outside. Even if you have the budget of just buying the inside catering, prefer not to. It gives you hackathon also unique spirit when you actually buy local food, I guess. Yeah, but if it is you have to buy a catering from them and try to negotiate at most one catered meal only. The main approach though to get the venue is, as I said, get an ally inside, be proactive about your risk management, see what they want for risk management, speak with the venue manager and see what they like. Want and how can they feel safe giving you the university for 2 days. There is a MLH guide and administrator for administrators to hackathons. It is on the MLH website. I'll also provide the link to it at the end of this workshop. Do give it a read and like see where you can use stuff in your emails to admins. One main thing is, I guess, if you can make a case study where you can say, oh, University of London did this and we can do that. And like it's provided them with X, Y, Z of benefits to the students, to the department, to the school. Definitely that helps your case a lot. So the university really appreciate a good case study. And basically you want to sell the hackathon to your admins, and case study is the way to do it. That's pretty much about the university campus. Next, we have the office spaces or co-working spaces. Those are my personal favorite, just because, well, they're quite stylish usually and pretty unique. And yeah, and like usually have really good infrastructure in place because, well, they host people who work in computer science all the time. So they have usually good internet, a really cool table, chairs, beanbags, and stuff. And the sort, and it's usually customizable, at least compared to the universities and hotels, I guess, where you can easily do all of stuff because they're usually on your side. The bad thing though is usually the size. You rarely ever find a co-working space which would fit over 300 attendees, I guess. In Manchester case, we struggled to find over 100, which is quite a shame. Usually location is not very flexible for students either, so sometimes we'd find them a bit outside the city or a bit further where the students are living. So pay attention to where locations are, but like even if it is a bit further, do take into account that you can actually just hire a coach and take everyone from university to the venue. So that shouldn't be a big wall, just something to pay attention to. Other thing is it might cost you it might cost you a bit. Don't worry though, like you can offer in-kind sponsorship for the venue. and they would usually say yes because they want to do anything to appeal to the students as they are their main target. Um, most students will like their most co-working spaces want to appeal to the students as they think of them as they are their next generation customers, and they want to build a relationship with them early, just like almost all of your sponsors. So definitely sell your sponsorship to them. Watch out one of the few things. Setup, even though it's like usually really cool and stuff, the setup might make it very difficult to fit the numbers you might expect from a hackathon. And you might end up having to hire extra chairs and tables. That shouldn't be a problem though. Like chairs and tables are not that expensive to hire, especially for a weekend. So definitely look into that, and we'll speak about it later though. Wi-Fi, again, they have people who work there all the time, but they don't Netflix all the time, which is what students do in a hackathon. Speak with whoever is do their Wi-Fi and tell them to double and expect double load over the weekend, or at least triple or whatever. Just make sure that's to warn the IT people that the Wi-Fi is going to be hammered over the weekend. Heating. Usually these spaces are not used overnight for obvious reasons. Definitely speak about heating and make sure that they are covering the heating all the time, including the night. Have it in email, written in contracts everywhere, just so you have heating. Like this is one thing I hope all hackathons improve on, is to have warmer venues. I've been struggling finding one, to be honest. Even our own hackathons suffer from that, which is a shame. Approach, you focus on exposure and focus on exposure and have good flow plan. I'll speak about flow plan at the very end of this workshop, but like exposure is a pretty big thing for them. Tell them why your hackathon is so unique, and like even if it is your first time doing a hackathon, talk about what's the selling point of your team. Why do you want to run a hackathon? Why do you want to use their space? What benefits they get for it? And invest in photographers. Photographers are really, really important, as in not only they will make the venue happier as you are showcasing the venue as a cool space, they will also showcase your brand as a really good person who helps venues thrive. So other venues might start contacting you just solely on the base of you promoting other venues, which is pretty nice thing to have, and will have a long-lasting relationship with almost all the venues in your local space. Next thing is the hotels. This is pretty stuff. This is stuff that's pretty much unheard of, I guess. Not many people do it. I think last year Hacknots did it, but other than them, I can't remember any other hackathon in EU who've done it. It's quite an unconventional venue because, well, people think hotels, people sleep there, you can't hack or something like that. But hotels actually makes surprisingly really good venues. You can ask for a conference space to be used as an opening and closing ceremony. Most hotels do have conference spaces, but you just have to ask for it. And you can hire an entire floor and ask them to remove the beds from the floor. They will happily do that for you, and you just hire extra tables and chair, and you will have a venue, which is a really, really good venue. The good thing about it, it is pretty simple procedure. You just pay them money, you ask for them to remove the beds, and that's it. Like that's pretty much it. You just get extra cabling and tables, and that's all one phone call. Next thing is it's pretty fast and straightforward to do. Again, as I said, it's just one phone call and that's it. They will say either yes or no. It is available. You have a floor available or not. There is no paperwork to go through or anything. Again, availability. So sometime if you can't find a venue at all and you only have a week or two left, but you have enough money, you can simply go to the hotels and say, I want your floor completely next week. And they will say, yeah, definitely, sure, why not? The main problem with it though is obviously you have to pay for it. It's very hard. I think it's almost impossible to offer them in-kind sponsorship. They see no reason for it. So you'll definitely have to pay here, and you'll pay a lot sometimes. Infrastructure is not that good, and I'm not only speaking about the Wi-Fi here. I'm speaking about the whole infrastructure. So you will need to get a lot of cabling done, and you need to make sure with the venue that it will be able to handle that amount of electricity usage over the weekend. Surprisingly, hotels can't handle the laptop for over 500 laptops sometimes, and you struggle a lot with that. So definitely keep up in channels with the venue manager and make sure they will able to give you enough electricity for the weekend. Again, the Wi-Fi is a huge problem here, as in the Wi-Fi is really slow in hotels, and usually they're quite stubborn in about changing their ISPs. So we keep that one of the main things when you approach them. Say, I want to bring my own ISP, or you will have to provide me with fast internet over the weekend that will be able to cover X amount of attendees. Which again, you'll find the exact number on the MLH guide. You will find like what ports to expect and stuff. So yeah, as I said, the setup is really important. As in, not only you will have to cover the table, chairs, and cabling, you also have to cover Wi-Fi spots. As the hotel surprisingly has a lot of blind spots. You need to go there well in advance before the event and test where all the blind spots are, install extra boosters, access points, and everything. All of this almost covered on the guide MLH. Again, I'm giving a lot of shout outs to it just because it's that good. Definitely give it a go if you haven't given it yet. Wi-Fi, as I said, it's really a huge problem, and cabling. The approach is quite simple. Just throw money at them. Like that's it is. Invest in cables and get extra cables, and ensure you have your Wi-Fi is provided and you have really good Wi-Fi. Like one of the main issues with this venue, as I said, is the Wi-Fi, and your approach should just primarily focusing on making sure you have good Wi-Fi. Next is dry hire. This is like a space where most people don't think they can host a hackathon because like it's just an empty space. That's what dry hire is. It's just an empty space, big empty space. You can think of gyms, empty spaces, gigs, and stuff like that. All of these are dry hire, but they make surprisingly really awesome venues. The good thing about it is it's really customizable. You can make what the heck you want, whatever you want in the venue. Like if you've been to any gig ever, you will find they do a lot of crazy stuff like lightning and stuff like that. All of that you can do in a dry hire and more. Often quite big as well, which is a really nice thing to have, especially if you're going over the 300, 400 people mark. And universities in the UK at least can't handle that much people, so we look into dry hire when we hit the 300 wall or 200 wall actually. So this is pretty nice venue when you're going big. It's also pretty unique. You were very hard to find two venues who use dry hire and they look the same. You can pretty much do your hackathon touch here, which is, I find really awesome thing. The problem though, it's really expensive. Like all this customization and size come with a cost. It's probably the most expensive out of all of the options. You not only have to pay for the space, security and cleaning, electricity, water, you have to pay for everything, and you have to pay for hiring chairs, hiring cables, electricians and stuff like that. One of the main annoying things about this venue is electricity is not like your standard electricity where you in your bedroom where you can just plug into socket and it works. There is like a 3-phase electricity where you have to plug in generators and converters to be actually able to use it normally. And this all comes with a cost where you actually have to hire an electrician to do it for you. It's pretty hard stuff to do yourself. Infrastructure also very difficult, as I've said. Like you need to get all cabling and tables in a certain way which are suitable for electricity distribution and Wi-Fi distribution and everything. So all of this needs a lot of management and logistic management. It requires tremendous effort from your side and pretty much a lot of money again. So anyone in your team would struggle to actually do it in this venue, unless you're quite big, I guess. One of the main things is underestimating the setup. As I've said, setup is really difficult, and don't think it's going to be easy. Like when you approach this venue, be prepared to actually go full time into setup. Hidden costs, there are a lot of hidden costs. Like surprisingly, you will have to pay for water and electricity usages, and for each water usage over a certain amount as well, which you should check with your venue. Again, you will have to hire an electrician because distribution of the power is not like simple game where you can say, okay, I will just chain 3 sockets here and 4 sockets there. That doesn't happen, especially with like expensive equipments involved. They won't even let you. It's not probably safe. Also, you will need a proper internet service provider for this venue. It's probably very, very expensive for you to pay for it. So ask for in-kind sponsorship. ISPs usually happily to provide it for hackathons as it is huge promotional material for them. But again, you will need to ask for it. Approach, basically throw enough money. Throw enough money at them and it will work. You need to focus a lot on your floor plan though. Floor plan, probably the most important thing is about this venue. Again, the standard stuff with the risk management, check with the venue manager, see how they feel about you taking over the weekend, and see if they will need an insurance. It's usually a really, really good idea to have an insurance. Sometimes it's even a legal requirement. At least in the UK, it's definitely a legal requirement. Something called public liability insurance in the UK is something you will need to have before you host a hackathon here. Our student union covered that for us, so they basically cover all of the society's activities under public liability insurances. However, I'm not sure if all students' unions do that, so do check. If not, you can usually buy insurance for like £750, or I don't know how much would that be in the US for the weekend. So look into that and definitely keep it safe. Main thing though, keep your communication line open with the venue. You bring in a lot of stuff and you bring in a lot of hackers. Sometimes they've never done this before, so they will be confused. So definitely like keep the line open. Keep lines open and keep all of your agreements on papers, which I will go through later in more details. This is like the hardest part's over. Now we'll start talking about like the game plan and stuff. So yeah, hopefully you're still awake. That was a lot to digest. So here's a GIF. So for the game plan, preparation is probably the most important thing. Before you start approaching venues, have a budget in your mind. Generally in the UK, average hackathon costs around £40 a person. But for us, it's always been over £80 a person, I guess. You need additional 20% as a buffer just in case something happened on the day. Other than that, everything else can go into budget for the venue. You pretty much don't need, beside like the basic meals, the Wi-Fi, and everything can go to the venue. Consider this your low-end budget, as in like I can only hold the hackathon with this amount of money. This will help you to narrow down the amount of venues you will have to approach and save you a lot of time. Also have a layout in your mind and prepare a selling pitch. What makes your hackathon unique? What makes your team unique and trustworthy of the venue? Definitely like look into anything like that stands out. Have you been to a lot of hackathons? Have you done hackathons before? Have you run events with your society? Have you done anything on campus or stuff like that? Anything that makes you stand out, basically. You want to sell yourself and you want to sell your event, and it's having a good selling pitch will pretty much guarantee at least they will be on your side, and you don't want them against you. Also have a layout on your mind. There are tons of venues out there if you look hard enough. If you have a certain layout, it will help you narrow it down. Do you prefer open spaces or closed classroom spaces? Do you want to have a huge opening closing ceremony, or do you prefer to have all of small workshops rooms and stuff like that? Basically, just having certain layout. There is no correct answer for this. It's just everyone has their own personal favorite. So have a layout in your mind and before you approach a venue. After I said that, though, there's the shotgun approach. I would highly recommend you approach as many venues as you can, as soon as you can as well. We had a venue where we locked it in September for an event in March, and around December time, we've received an email that told us the whole floor in the venue blew up due to some construction error. So definitely don't trust the venue. Always have a backup, 1 or 2 venues. Do tell the venues they are a backup though, and they're usually happy with being a backup as long as you mention them as being a sponsor or something. But if you do feel they are being a bit hard and difficult, don't tell them they will be a backup. It's easier to ask for apology, to just apologize and say, "I'm sorry, we won't go forward with you anymore," than saying, "Oh, okay, uh, you are just a backup." So do actually make a judgment call there. I personally say it is a backup. You are a backup venue, just because I usually speak with venues which we host events at and I want to keep a good relationship with. Um, Speaking of relationship, definitely write down everything. So during the first hackathon we've run, I was actually run over by a bus, and a day before the event, where I actually had to go to the venue because I didn't write down everything, and it was only me who knew all the floor plans and everything, which was very very bad thing. Don't be a bottleneck in your team, and don't avoid the bus factor as much as you can. Basically, let everyone in your team know, or at least two or three other people know what's happening and what everything agreements is. Also, it's not only for that; it's also to help with communication. So the venue sometimes either miscommunicate or they think they can play you. So again, speaking from our first hackathon, the venue raised its price 3 times before we managed to pay them. It was horrible, even though we agreed on person and we shook hands on it. Um, they still raise the price on it, and that's something you don't want to be. That's a position you don't want to be in. If you have everything in writing, they can't do it. They can't pull these sort of games. And also, it also if help you because sometimes you speak with the venue manager or like you speak with their PR people, and then you agree on something, and then their venue manager doesn't know that. So it comes the day you do some soldering, and they will say, "Oh, you're not allowed to solder," and then you say, "Actually, we have agreement here that says we are allowed to." That's give you some sort of authority, and also it helps the venue take you seriously as well. When you have everything in writing, where after every meeting you send minutes of the meetings, and before every meeting you set up agenda, they will take you more seriously and start being proactive about their stuff as well. So definitely write down everything. I can't stress this down enough. So we talked about hidden costs before, and we'll talk about it again because this stuff usually kills a hackathon. One of the main thing is security again. Security in the UK usually costs between £7 per hour per guard, security guard, up to £27 per hour per security guard. It is that massive difference. It's kind of gets expensive sometimes depending on the venue. Check with your venue manager. So definitely this is one of the very first few questions you want to ask. Is the venue free? Do I have to pay any special any operation cost? Yeah, Wi-Fi, etc. Like these kind of questions you want to ask at the beginning. And is soldering allowed on these stuff? The usual legal requirement in the UK is one security guard per 100 attendees, plus any additional required to cover fire exits. Check with your venue manager again. As I said, this is from my experience in the UK. It might be different for you, depending on where you are. One of the other thing is, again, the insurance. I talked about it a bit briefly. Don't be afraid to actually hire the insurance, as it can cover you and save you from a lot of problems and legal problems later. But as I said, check with the university, see if you are covered under any of insurances and see if they can extend you under them. It usually doesn't cost any money to extend you under, so just ask, you won't lose anything. Medic, surprisingly, you will have to, those are really, really expensive. Medic are basically first aiders of the event. Usually, security guards are usually trained first aiders. However, you should ask and make sure they are. And in case they are, you make sure that all of their information is known to everyone involved in the event. In case they are not, though, check with the student union. See if there is a Red Cross related society who would volunteer over the weekend. Check with your volunteers or even attendees. Like we've sent an email to all attendees and said, "Oh, who is a first aider trained? And if so, would you like to volunteer to be one?" If you are doing well on the money, make it appealing, as in cover their travel expenses and so on, that sort of stuff, because obviously they're saving you a lot of money there. In regards to the number of first aiders you need, you should definitely speak with your venue manager about recommended number. But general rule of thumb is the more the merrier, I guess. Um, Avoid hiring them; they're really expensive. But if you have to, definitely hire them. You don't want an issue where you someone faces a problem, and because you didn't have a first aid, it kind of went really downhill. You want to avoid that. Um, Storage. So definitely the storage should be free. Like regardless if you're paying the venue or not, the storage should always be free. If you've been told otherwise, pressure them to provide you at least with the loading bay. Sometime a venue will do anything to make sure they make some money out of you. Um, Storage should never be paid for. That's like a hard rule. Ask to have a storage at least a day, or if you can have it before a week before the event, that would be great. But like a day at least to give you some sort of ease of the mind on the day. There's a lot of stuff happening on the day, and you want to avoid that. Next, we have cleaning. So usually you'll be asked to pay for cleaning for the event throughout the event and after the event. This is pretty standard stuff. But do offer to buy the cleaning products yourself, as they usually overcharge you on those a lot. You can easily get really cheap products from Walmart or Costco or whatever cheap wholesale store in your area. And if you're tight on budget, accept only post-event cleaning. Like ask for them to clean after the event only, and ask your volunteers to clean throughout the event. Don't neglect the cleaning. If you left the venue in a really horrible state, it's very unlikely they will give you the venue again. And you don't want to burn the bridge. You don't want to do one awesome event and that's it. You want to do awesome event yearly or every semester. So pay attention to these small stuff. They care a lot about it. So here's some like we've covered quite a bit. Like we covered what to do every month, what's different options we have, and how to approach every venue. Let's talk a bit about how can we make the event just a bit nicer. There are a lot of stuff that's been left always to the last minute, which shouldn't be. This is one of the things. This is floor plan. There are softwares to generate a really good floor plans with dimensions of tables and everything set on them. This not only makes the venue manager life easier and they trust you more. It also makes the volunteers' life easier on the day. They will know how to set up the tables without you screaming over their heads. Attendees will know where to go and what to expect from a venue. Security know what's happening. This gives them a lot of sense of security. And basically, everyone knows what's happening. And in case you got too many attendees coming, this is usually a good problem to have, by the way, and you need to hire extra tables or chairs on the day, you can easily hire those and look up your floor plan, see how can you fit them in the venue. Also, one of the nice thing about doing floor plan, you also think about cabling and other important stuff like fire exits. How can people reach the closest fire exit? Yeah, this is actually a legal requirement where you have to provide them with clear instruction how to leave the venue. And if you can put it online, that's even better. So having all that makes your life easier on the day and makes everyone expectation just be much nicer. Also, one of the things that Hackathon recently started to focus on is the sleeping arrangement, which is a really good thing. Hackers love to sleep. And we say like hackathons are overnight, but doesn't mean that we have to work overnight, right? Like even your team won't sleep. Everyone gets tired at midnight, I guess. So it's good time to think before the event where the hacker is going to sleep, where the volunteer is going to sleep. Is the sleeping area away from noise? Is it warm? And usually asking for smaller rooms from your venue, especially if you're paying them, won't cost you any extra cost. Basically, because like these small rooms usually are not used in a case of big events happening, and they won't mind sharing it with you. In case of dry higher spaces where they only have one big space and they don't have smaller rooms, what we've done is MLH actually got us tents and gazebos where we set them at the back of the venue away from the light, and we kept all the heaters in that area. So it made a really nice sleeping area and felt a bit unique. So that's pretty sweet. If you look into gazebos, tents, these sort of stuff, just make sure you don't leave your sleeping arrangement last minute. Again, speaking of extra rooms, while sleeping rooms are your priority, there are a lot of other rooms that you want to take note of. So, for example, a breakout room where keeping all the noise there and all the mini events and fun games happening is a nice thing, because sometimes hackers just want to focus on their hackathon and other hackers want to chill out. So having a chill zone is a nice option to do. If you can't, try to maintain a suitable distance or away from the general hacking space, I guess. Um, so other rooms that you might want to think of is like operation room, where is all of your volunteers and staff operates from. This is a really good space, as in during the event, your volunteers and probably you yourself will be really stressed, and you want to avoid being stressed in front of the attendees. And having a breakout room just for your volunteers and where you can discuss stuff that's happening on the day um, is really useful and keeps the whole stress level maintained just at the organizing side and doesn't leak to the attendees. Other rooms to think of as are like quiet rooms, which is just simply empty rooms, just quiet rooms. People sometimes want to chill, but they don't want to chill with noise. They want to chill, just like sit with themselves and just think. Whatever they do, it's actually been used quite a lot in Student Hack. Last Student Hack, we had about 30 people using it, which was amazing. It's just like an empty, quiet room, no alarm clocks allowed, anything allows there. It's not really a sleeping room, it just was an empty room, just like away from all the noise and stress. This is not typically related to venues, but mostly more about your volunteers training. A lot of times we neglect that training volunteers is really important, about especially training them on the stuff that's going to happen on the day. So what's happening when fire breaks down? Do volunteers actually know the fire procedure? Are they trained fire marshals? This is usually just like a tour around the venue before the event, a week or a day before the events. Do volunteer briefing. Talk about like Wi-Fi if Wi-Fi break down and what they should do. Especially in co-working spaces and the dry hire spaces. If Wi-Fi went down in certain zone, you don't want the hackers at that area start walking around. It will be like a plague. They will bring down the whole network. You want to keep all of your volunteers informed of what to do if in case they hear the Wi-Fi is down in a certain area. You want them to tell all the hackers to stay at that area until you fix it. You want to train them also about the sleeping arrangement and like how everything is and what to expect from the day and how should they put the food out and when they put it out, and basically just give them a rough run about how it's going to be on the day. Sometimes the volunteers haven't even went to a hackathon before, so doing this training is really useful, and doing it in a venue is even better. That's pretty much everything in regards to venues. There are a lot of resources on MLH website, especially the guide.mlh.io, which I spoke about quite a bit. It has a lot of stuff and covers quite a few things from actually this workshop as well. There's also the College Administrator Guide to Hackathons. If you're planning to do a hackathon inside the university or like want to explain it to admins in university, definitely give it a go. That's pretty much everything for now. You can reach me on my Twitter if you have any more questions. And yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. Yeah, that was really good. Not really much to need to change, really. So, job well done, Sammy.
Thank you.
Cool. So I'm gonna get this edited down today, and then I'll be publishing it like throughout the week, and then I'll let you know if any questions pop up in the comments or anything so that you can answer them. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Should I answer it as a video or should I just answer it as a comment?
I'll just answer it as a comment. The video would be too much for what it's worth. So
yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your help, Sammy.
Okay.
I don't
Hopefully
know.
it was useful.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm sure people will get a kick out of that. People need a lot of help when it comes to approaching venues and stuff. So hopefully that'll give them some ideas.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Sammy. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye.